Welcome back to the Live Worthy podcast, where we're inviting women to cross over the threshold of faith into something new, something that God's designing for you in each of the 4 assignments: motherhood, marketplace, ministry, and marriage. So today I'm here joined by my very own brother.
So good to be here.
Jason, I'm glad you're here.
It's so great to be here.
Yeah. And we're going to talk today not about motherhood.
Well, good. Good.
Well, we could talk about marriage because you've been married a long time. But we're actually going to enter the assignment of marketplace and share a little bit because that's what you've been doing all these years. And you're a bivocational minister. And so it suits us. We need to hear from you about what it means to walk in that assignment. And so I'm excited you're here.
Well, it's great to be here. I think the biggest part of that shift for me was really the compassion he's given me and the love that I receive almost has to flow out. And I was always worried about what does that look like? Do I get my soapbox and my amplifier and start quoting scriptures? And it was so far from that. But there was something that changed in me that began to have an attraction to, no matter where I can be in Walmart, I can be at Dunkin' Donuts getting donuts before church. I can be like, there's been so many ministry opportunities that I think have always been there. I just didn't notice them.
Yeah. I think that's the cool part too. When we talk about the marketplace, it's not that you have to own a business. It's just anywhere you're engaging in the marketplace, you are a minister of reconciliation, bringing the light of Christ there, however you interact with the cashier, however you're buying donuts, whatever you're doing, like you're a part of the marketplace. But specifically, today we're going to talk about what that means as we are leaders in an industry or own a business or whatever, which you are. So I'm excited. I want to dive in. I have known you my whole life.
Yes. Not my whole life.
No.
Because I'm older.
Yes.
Significantly.
Well, I was not going to mention that. But you have always been my favorite brother also.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And not just because you're my only brother, but because you're the best. You've been the greatest big brother to me. And so I'm so glad that you're here because we talk at least weekly, but sometimes multiple times a week. Very close. We've always been close in our relationship. You've always advocated for me and for all your sisters, which has been incredible. And you've had kind of a crazy story going the last 14 or so years. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Start us off.
Yes. I mean, I think the story is one certainly of grace. And grace is just that God loves me and continues to love me and loved me through my bad decisions. And right now it's such a testimony that he can use this cracked cup a little bit to let some of that love that I've received. And I think that's been the biggest victory for me, or the thing I'm starting to see more clearly, because I was in ministry for almost 14 years before. And there was a lot of great things that happened in it, but I still had a value issue. I still couldn't see myself the way God saw me. And I could see it in other people pretty quick, but I was just always it was through achievements. And whether it was through achievements, I was always chasing that next title, chasing that next income bracket, chasing that next, if I was, over the parking lots at church, at the, in Temple Terrace and just cleaning up that, I thought, man, I can pay and pay some of the stuff back. And so that didn't leave, even because I was good at hustling, I was good at caring, I was good at they would call grinding and just working hard and elbows deep in whatever. But what I wasn't good at was surrendering and letting God have control. And so I would fill the voids. Even in ministry, I would fill the voids in work. I would fill the voids in relationships with stuff that was just not sustainable and stuff that wasn't long lasting. And in ministry, it was such an exhaustion by the time I was done. And it was never anything that that he asked me to bear. Matter of fact, he kept asking me to give it to him. And I think because of the noise, I just didn't hear him. He never left me. He was always right there. But there would be shame, or there would be guilt, or there'd be this less than, or whatever it was. And the very things that I was holding on to were the things that were causing me the chaos. That took me a long time, more than most, to realize. But I don't look back on any of that with shame. I look back at an opportunity to be a witness, to be a testimony for that. For even now, as a pastor of a church, I still will try to gain some of that control. I said, I got it. Okay, I got it now. And for me, it gets more dangerous when I become more self-sufficient, when I start to get it. And so that really starts to limit God in my life, limit space and God in my life. So in ministry, that was just, it was exhausting. And I would see people die, and I would see people not stay with the decision. And I would try to create, and I would really try to be the savior, because I needed one so bad. If I could be that for everybody else, and that's just it's not a sustainable way to live. And so when I left ministry, it was going to be a job transfer that ended up not happening. At the same time, all my kids are moving out of the house. So, I started to have a couple of drinks here and there. And so that is a thing that can progressively get worse. And now I look back, and for those who've ever done boating or any kind of thing that you need nautical calculations to, if you get just a degree off, depending on how far you go at that degree off, you can end up miles away from where you planned on landing. And that's in essence what happened to me. And thankfully, there was certainly consequence, and there was certainly collateral damage when you look at family and you look at missed opportunities that I think God had provided, and relationships that he put in my life, that I can't look back and be guilty for, but I can certainly be on guard not to get that degree. And when I need to recalculate, I recalculate. And so that happens on that daily devotion, that sometimes multiple times in the day I need to reset. It's because I don't want to miss those opportunities, because God took me in a world from ministry. Well, I left ministry, and then I made decisions to get involved in other things.
Yeah.
And drinking was way too much a part of my life.
Yeah.
And all those things that addiction can present. But he also was merciful for me to just be able to hear, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I was able to come back, and just willing to do it different, in a different way. And one of the scriptures that it was really hard for me was, "Come to me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest." Because I saw the weariness, but I didn't see the rest. But I missed some important parts of that verse. And he said, "Learn from me." Like, whoa.
Who knew that there was another part of that verse?
But
Learn from
so
me,
much.
for I am gentle and humble in heart.
And thank God he's humble at heart.
Yeah.
And thank God he's gentle. And he still teaches me. There's stuff that I'm learning today that I couldn't have learned a year ago.
Yeah.
That I couldn't have learned 3 months ago. But that willingness. And and so when I started to understand that he really wants real relationship with me, I started to have to learn what real relationship was.
Yeah. So it's funny what you talk about, that you couldn't hear him. I remember having, and we've talked about this, I had a dream, like right before I knew that you were sort of taking this route. It was like there wasn't enough evidence to see that you were really deep in this addiction. And so I had this dream that I was like confused about. And you were face up in like a marshy water, and you couldn't hear. And people that you loved were like over you, kind of just telling you how loved you are, how much we love you, and all this. And I think I called you the next day to tell you about it. And and anyway, and we've talked about it many times, but you had this sort of experience for several years, and almost like these road to Damascus moments. When I think about the Apostle Paul and his conversion of going from Saul, who didn't quite understand his role and impact of God's kingdom, and then he gets sort of interrupted on the road. You quite literally had kind of an interruption by the Lord on the road and had this beautiful moment with him of conversion. Can you tell us about that?
Well, God will chase after us, and there are times where I think I'm really, really smart, and there's other times where I'm like, I couldn't be more remedial. Like, he has to break it down. So I look at the grace in my life and 3 motorcycle accidents, one of which I had to get a helicopter ride. I don't remember the helicopter ride.
Too bad.
But then it was very expensive though. So, you would have thought that would have done it, but it wouldn't. And this is the trap. And I found myself in the same spot that I found in ministry, but then also found in addiction. I felt like I was the most crowded, lonely person ever. And so I just knew that I had gotten some basic things wrong. I knew the truth was always around me. You know what I mean? I knew I'd heard the truth. You know, we have parents that gave us the truth. We have all siblings that are serving the Lord and their husbands and their kids and all that stuff. So the truth's always been there, but sometimes we have ears and we don't hear. And I think it just gets so noisy. And so there's just, one time I'm just at the end of everything. Like, I'm literally at a fork in the road, and that fork is actually, it's either death, jail, or hurting somebody, or it's what I've been called to be all my life. And I just got tired of running. And I was done. And whatever that would look like, whatever that was going to take, whatever that meant, I was willing and open-minded to do it differently. I knew it couldn't get fixed with the same mentality that created a lot of the problems. I knew that we had to go way back. We had to just clear the landscape, and however long that took. For the first time, I think I was willing to do that, and whatever it meant to give up, whatever it meant, new words that I needed to learn the definitions of. I think he takes that and he uses it, and I know he does, and he always has.
So you had at the same time this is happening, like, you've got, all these people, like you said, you're the loneliest person in a crowded room because who you are is magnetic. You've always got people around you, always people that want to follow you, people that want to be led by you. Like, you're a very dynamic leader. You really genuinely care so deeply for people. You're such a shepherd in that way. Your heart is so pure for God's people, but for all people. Like, any person that has a pulse is, for you, not too far from grace. So you've always leaned into just the most poor and broken. And whatever it costs you, I've watched you my whole life give all that you have for somebody else, including me. So in the midst of all this that's happening, you've got a business that you're running and people that you're leading, and you're like finding you're in this most humble place with the Lord, and there are crowds watching you. How did that change happen? Because I think sometimes people are afraid to really move into this new place with the Lord because of the eyes that are watching them. And I watched you navigate that incredibly and in great humility. Will you talk about that?
So I had to turn a lot of my no's into yeses. So sometimes that generosity and that care for people can be as damaging as any addiction. Because if you're doing it to masquerade your shame, when you're giving to hide, and you're not giving because the love of God compels you, you can even be in the wrong place, giving in the wrong area. And that's not sustainable. God showed me that it's like trying to have a really nice car and just push it around everywhere. And so the source has to come from something sustainable. It's got to be something water that quenches thirst.
And never runs dry.
And so from that becomes a lot more sustainable.
The Worthy Encounter is July 17th and 18th, and it's for women who are ready for more. It's time to announce to the daughters of God that they are worthy of their calling, worthy to come boldly, worthy to hear God's voice, to steward your authority, and to labor in the harvest. Women who long to see a generation of women who are awake, prepared, and unashamed, who carry the oil of the Spirit and carry the authority of the King, who labor with freedom in the harvest and recognize their strength in advancing the kingdom of God for such a time as this. We are preparing this place for you July 17th and 18th. It's the Worthy Encounter, your invitation to cross the threshold into more of the Lord. Join us when you're ready for more.
But I had to take my no's and turn them into yeses. I had a lot of really crazy principles. One was I would never go out of country to do a missions trip. That was the first one. And immediately after I'm resetting this, as I'm getting back to God, I'm like, all right, so we're keeping that. You asked me to go to Africa.
Yeah.
And so the first answer was no. And so then devotion happens, and I spend time with God, and God just says, say yes. And so then you asked me again pretty quickly, and the answer was yes. Since then, I've gone to Africa 3 times and Honduras 5 times. And at this point, I don't feel like God's called me to be an out-of-country missionary.
Yeah.
But what he did show me, and what he was able to get my attention and quiet some of the noise, that love for his people. The first time we went, all I prayed is, God, show me how you move. Just show me how you move. And I was absolutely blown away. And God had to take me thousands of miles for me to see that I have my Africa in my marketplace. I have my Honduras in my family. I have my Africa at church. There was just as much hopelessness all around me all the time, and they were just as ready to receive it if the power is not coming from Jason, if it's something sustainable. We joked when we were over there, we get to watch this film called the Jesus Film.
Yes.
And it just doesn't move fast enough for us, right?
Because we're American.
We're American, and we got to go. We got about a 9-second attention span, and let's go. Can we get to the cross thing? Can we get the resurrection?
It's not on a YouTube reel.
But to sit there and watch the Jesus Film in a different language, and watch the eyes, watch the TV and the monitor, will absolutely change your life. And we went from wanting to make edits to this thing to going, who are we to change the gospel?
Gosh. Yeah.
And so I think sometimes we get scared of conviction. And what that really does is it prevents us from the next growth that God has for us, which is more peace and more freedom. And so I haven't gone through a tough time since I've been back serving with the Lord that he hasn't been faithful to show me the next step.
Yeah. So you've decided to go, at this time, you've decided to go to Africa. You're stepping into, I mean, you went from sometimes, showing up at work in, is it okay if I say, like, not the best state, maybe?
Well, no, I've never.
Not, yeah, like, not.
That was bad, but that was that bad.
No. Not like that. You're not inebriated or anything, but just coming in just like a rough night the night before or whatever the case may be. Like you were great at work. You were excelling actually in every manner of speaking.
But I wasn't giving all of me to the people that were there and as a leader.
Right.
And even when I was like, let's go back, because I was still in ministry while I was at work. Right?
Yeah.
Even in that situation, my mind wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be present. I wouldn't have noticed the opportunity that was right in front of me. I wouldn't have noticed that day's least of these, or that person that felt like the least of these.
Yeah.
I might have stepped right over someone who needed CPR to go hand somebody $5.
Because you're still in your one time actually, while we're talking about it, we went to dinner and it was so great. You bought me this super wonderful meal, and I was so excited about my leftovers. Like leaving the restaurant with it, and there's a homeless man, and you quickly begin talking to him about Jesus and gave him my leftovers, and I was like, how dare you, sir? These were mine.
I was planning when I was going to eat it. I was ready to go.
So excited. Oh, anyway, so you have all so you're in this place of like, wanting to do all that the Lord has called you to do, but just struggling. And then all of a sudden you have this encounter with the Lord, and now you're walking into work a different person. What was that like for everybody there, everybody involved, all the eyes that were watching you, and then you're going to Africa? What was that process like for them?
It was a slow process. In my head, it was slow. The pressures that we put on to perform and to achieve sometimes create adversarial relationships. And so you don't even get to see the person. And I can think of people that I would have thought were arch nemesis, but that was because I never listened to them. I never saw them. And I think we do that a lot. We certainly do it now a lot in social media and political aspects. And we just so quickly to try to jump on the right side of right that everything we're doing is wrong. And when I pay close attention to the gospel and how Jesus approaches, and there was a lot of political craziness that was happening then when he starts with the Sermon on the Mount. Before he started, he didn't come with a stage. He came on a hillside.
Yeah.
And he didn't come with this strategy and this, he did come with a strategy, but it was just an upside down, completely opposite of what probably most people expected to hear or wanted to hear. He didn't say, if you're poor, you're not going to be poor now.
Right. He said, you're blessed.
He said blessed. And so I had to look up what blessed what blessed means. And it turns out it's different than what I thought it meant at one point. I mean, I think it'd be a new Denali. Have you seen the new Denali's? The trucks? That would be blessed, right? The new 2026 GMC Denali, that's blessed, right? But that's not it. It's how you are on the inside. Because that's what's sustainable. And so the trips if we go back to Africa real quick, in Honduras, for the first time, I saw people that worshiped with nothing. I saw people that gave that had nothing. And so all the generosity you talked about, me going over there and going to Honduras, it exposed more my need. Their need might have been things and food, but I've rarely gave out of that. I've rarely gave out of a place of sacrifice. And so that continues to blow me away. So much so that my last trip to Honduras a few weeks ago changed my whole sermon outline. We're just finishing the Beatitudes.
When you're coming back. Yeah. So your people around you are watching you just have this experience, and what may seem slow to you, but it really, to me, on the outside as your sister, I was like, oh, he's different. I could tell immediately he was different, and this was a the things that you were talking about, a slow kingdom, a different pace. You were talking, your words coming back to the Lord was all about pace and just being in a different cadence and rhythm of the Spirit. And I had not ever heard language like that from you before. So I knew there was something that God was doing that was new in you, new revelation. And it was speaking so beautifully out in your life, the decisions that you were making, the roles that you were taking, and you were it was really just quite powerful. So as you're in these places of work, you would talk to different people just and be engaged with them. You're not, preaching the gospel to them, but with words of scripture, but you're preaching the gospel with your life, with how you're living, how you've changed. What did that shift in the culture of your community at work?
When life happened, what would spill out of me would be different. When the stress would happen. So if we had a great Starbucks coffee right in front of us right now.
Yeah.
And someone shook the table and it spilled, coffee would come out. For me, that was kind of like the same thing in my life. Chaos wasn't coming out. There was a trust, there was a reliability, there was an attraction, there was something different than they had seen. And it wasn't based on promotion. It wasn't based on these eloquent or articulate words that I would say. It was based on the life that I was living. People knew I went to Africa. If people asked me how I was doing, I would share how I was doing. And I really led with the 2 words that I came up with a couple years ago and that got the team to get behind was transparency and accountability and mutual accountability. So I gave people the permission to hold me accountable.
That's a big deal for a boss to do that.
But I was really, I know that I had the right source in which to do that with. Because if I really wanted to grow, if I wanted to learn some of these things, if I wanted to know the true meaning of blessed, if I wanted to experience all the God's promises and what he has to me, I had to be willing to do things differently.
Yeah.
And so it had to be attraction and not promotion.
So now so things are shifting at work, and at the same time you were involved with this group of bikers.
I'm pretty much a biker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Did my face change right there? Yeah. That's my tough look.
And they loved you. They love you. And you were involved in this community for years. You found a real brotherhood there. And so what happened with that group? Tell us.
So they were surprised to see the changes and excited to see the changes and supportive of the changes and encouraged the changes and really, really did show a great brotherhood and continue to show that.
Yeah.
And so we have a clubhouse, or at the time it was a different chapters clubhouse, but they wanted to find a way to make different another night of income, because it would sit there and that they'd maybe use it once a week or twice a month or 3 times a month, and it just wasn't enough to pay the bills. And so about a year and a half, probably about a year and a half ago, no, exactly a year ago, the church will be celebrating its 1-year anniversary, April 5th on Easter. So me and the president of that chapter and their vice president went to lunch because they wanted to utilize some of my, marketing talents or entrepreneurial skills, and we were going to talk about what we could do. And so we were at Chili's having lunch, and one of them looks at me as a joke and says, "Well, why don't you start a church?" Like, absolutely not. And I think you'd already asked me about church planning prior.
Well, because, you were meeting with all these different people on different nights, groups that you're meeting with. I'm like, it seems to me it'd be a lot more efficient if you just got them all together on a Sunday morning.
Too, right. There was 2 Bible studies with people from work. I think I was on YouVersion with I don't know how many different people trying to keep up with the devotions. So some things don't change. Sometimes you want to sign up and you do care about people, but God gave me not a way out, but a way to.
Yeah, that was it. He took who you are, and he's like, it's going to lead you this somewhere different this time. I felt like.
And he's like, you're a little slower, so we might have to do this in steps, so that I kind of get you there before you know you're there, which is good. He's gentle.
It's gentle. So funny.